It's funny. About 2 months ago, I mean, I'm a huge Patton fan. I always have been, right? But that was me. That was the movie version of Patton. I remember seeing the movie for the first time when I was about, I don't know, 9, 10. This was like one of the first times it was ever aired on network television with the disclaimer, oh, by the way, there's going to be naughty language in this movie. And they showed it with the naughty language, right? I don't know, maybe I was not, might have been 9, maybe 10, right? That I saw it on network television with my dad. Patton is effectively, famously now, my second favorite movie behind Star Wars.
Oh,
Why?
sure.
Because that movie just reshaped, it rewired all of my thinking, right? And I didn't really understand how great Patton was as a general in what he did. The movie doesn't even do him justice. And then
No, it doesn't.
but it
No,
doesn't,
he was
right?
awesome. Yeah.
He was immense, right? And a century ahead of his time. And but the movie's fine as a heroic or slightly anti-heroic narrative, however you want to read it. Um, w- w- but I have always had Patton in the back of my head,
Hmm.
like whenever I'm doing strategic analysis, whenever I'm doing that. And then, so about 2 months ago, if I've seen the movie once, I've seen it 40 freaking times. I have it on 4K Blu-ray, like the whole 9 yards. Like, dude, I love that fucking movie, right? But I'm here in Tennessee, and I don't have access to my collection, my film collection down. It's still down at my house in Florida. So I'm like, fuck it. Pull it up, spend an extra $5, watch it on Amazon Prime because something was telling me I needed to watch Patton again. About 2 months ago, right around the time that we were like getting ready to roll Maduro. So Venezuela, something, as I like to put it, my ghost told me it's time to watch Patton again. So I'm like, okay. So I sat down and I watched Patton again. It was funny. I'm watching the speech, the opening speech, which I have
I love that
memorized.
opening speech. Yeah.
Right. But it's the music. I've always been a huge fan of the score. As a matter of fact, I used to have the score on vinyl. Right, I used to listen to it all the time. Um, and once the opening credits rolled after the speech, and you watch the movie, and that that whole piece of music starts to play itself out, I started to cry. And no lie, I hadn't listened to it in years, and then it hit me literally like a ton of bricks, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, and then I watched it, and I'm like, real. And then I spent the rest of the night. That was my wife was still. It was very early in January. My wife was still down in Florida, so I was by myself, and well, I don't know, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, watch Patton, and
Yeah.
then until 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm watching Patton documentaries on YouTube, like, all night long. And then I realized, and I watched the stuff about how, he tore across the Rhine in 3 hours while Montgomery spent 3 months, like, building this freaking grand army of the Republic to cross the Rhine. And Patton was like, "We're already across, and I've already captured 5,000 Germans, and we're moving on to the next thing." And you realize, and I finally realized, I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy understood warfare, that you fight to win, right?
Yeah.
You don't fight to kill the enemy. You don't fight to do X, Y, and Z. You fight to win. And if you can win in such a way that you've beaten the enemy before they even have any idea that they've been beaten,
Hmm.
well, now you've just saved how many lives? You've saved the lives of thousands of German soldiers. You've saved the lives of thousands of American soldiers. You've saved the lives of thousands of civilians, and this and that and everything else. The war material, all of it. You've maximized the effectiveness of the capital that was marshaled to do this, to achieve this goal.
Yeah, I don't know if they teach
And that's where
opportunity. Go ahead,
and
sorry.
that's where we are today. And if you realize that that's what they did on 2 weeks ago, we're doing this on Friday night. It's the worst 2 weeks old. In 4 hours from now is the 2 week anniversary of the beginning of the attack on Iran. And by the
Yeah.
time we woke up the next morning, the war was over.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. That's awesome.
And you're like, he announced the attack at 1:30 in the morning local time. And by 6 o'clock in the morning, for all intents and purposes, this thing was over. And we didn't, and I realized it because we saw them do it in the 12-day war last summer. That way,
Mhm.
by day 3, we finally dawned on all of us that the war's over. Iran shot 200 missiles the first night, 150, 25. This thing's over. They don't shoot 500 missiles on Sunday night. I remember Dexter White calling me up and saying, dude, if they don't fire 500 missiles tonight, this war's over. Because every launcher is fire and forget. Every launcher is a bazooka. Fire it, drop it on the ground, move on, right? Doesn't matter what it is, no matter how expensive it is, no matter what it was, it fires a ballistic missile, because once you light it up, oh, I can see that thing, go kill it. Because they're flying cap over Tehran. They're, like in all of this shit. So like the logistics of it are the military logistics of it. And I'm not a military strategist, right? But I'm smart enough, but I stayed at a Holiday Express once or twice. And like I can look at this fucking shit and go, that's what's happening. And then we saw it once, and then I'm like, oh, they're gonna do this again. And then by day 4, like by Sunday night, I'm like, guys realize this war's over, right? On Monday, they're gonna try and close the Straits of Hormuz because they have to start that threat now, because if they don't, by that time, everybody will figure out that the war's over. So they have to go to, now we're closing the Straits. Now Lloyd's of London has to be activated to effectively close the Straits, because Iran couldn't actually close the fucking Straits. The only person who could control the Strait, could close the Straits, were the shipping insurers back in London. And that's your tell that the two of them have been working together in this big grand strategy to keep the world chaotic, because in chaos they rule. Because if everybody is jumping at shadows trying to figure out where the next threat's coming from, that VIG I talked about earlier, all that money that moves, that VIG goes to them.
Well, what do you think about the analysis that they're saying that they're trying to remove Lloyd's of London from being able to insure the ships and everything by doing this?
And I said it, Cody. You asked that question on Saturday morning.
Okay.
It's like Saturday afternoon of the war, first day of the war. I could tell the newly minted mouthpieces for the city of London on Twitter that everybody that were automatically amplified. Interestingly enough, they're all Indians. What a shock, because they've been using Indians for everything else, right?
Yeah.
And so this guy, he's like apparently Sri Lankan. He's tweeting out of Australia, but at the end of the day, he's just a fucking poo. Like, I'm sorry, that's what he is. He's just a street shitter with a Twitter account, and like, sorry, it's just the truth. But he's telling us what the strategy is going to be, which is, oh, Oman said this, and this, and this means that, and that means that they're going to be okay with clothes. And then then a miracle occurs. It's like the underpants gnomes. Here's all this shit. We're going to seal underwear. ... Profit. Like, we're going to do. Oman said this. ... They're going to close the Straits. And I said, yeah, and this is what Iran's going to do. And I'm like, that means, I said, the Lloyd's of London are going to close the Strait, make the announcement to close the Straits probably tomorrow afternoon or Monday. That's coming. I said this, like, directly on Twitter. And then I went, okay. And I figured Trump would let that go for 4 or 5 days. Was he really thinking in terms of the shipping insurance? Would this, yada, yada, yada. Would he have to scramble to figure out how to deal with that angle? Oh, no. Big Gay Patton already had that shit worked out 4 months ago. And they announced it on Taco Tuesday. You know how the whole taco trade, Trump always chickens out? It always happens on a Tuesday. That's more British City of London slop, by the way. So on Taco Tuesday, Taco Trump turns around and goes, fuck you, London. No.
It's always on a Tuesday.
We're taking your insurance business. And it's going to take some time to get it in play. It's going to take some time for everybody for all the ship captains to find their balls, right? And for the companies that they represent to sign on the dotted line and everything else, because, complicated business, folks, to quote Trump on election night 2016. Sorry, folks, it took so long. Complicated business, this thing, this election stuff. But here we are. They're going to have to take some time, right? Sign on the dotted line, negotiate rates, do the thing, and make sure that everything's set up, got the reinsurance behind that set up, blah, 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 blah. That's just contracts, folks. In the meantime, we're going to send in the A-10 Warthogs.
Yeah.
Flying over Iran right now. These things that are obsolete because of modern air defense. And the and I love the A-10. I'm sorry, I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
much of a
Like
military guy, but the A-10 is like the greatest fucking plane ever. Next to the
Greatest sound
SR-71.
ever.
Yeah, well, next to like the SR-71 Blackbird. Yeah, what's the worst sound in the English language? It's not the racking of a 12-gauge pump action shotgun. It's a rat. Well, that was 500 guys. They're dead. Okay, no.
Well, I live right behind me, about 10 miles is the White Sands Missile Range.
Mhm.
And every so often when I'm up hiking in the mountains, they're doing runs through there, just open it up. And it is the real life experience. It gives me wood just thinking about the amount of munitions that are being dropped. So,
I'm not gonna lie, I'm like a little gay for friggin' Scott Bassett at this point. It's really hard not to be, right?
He's the best gay for sure.
He really is the alpha gay. One of my subgroup within my group of guys that I hang out with and play board games with and games with online. They call him the alpha gay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like Big Gay Patton better because it's that whole South Park thing. Big Gay Al, no Big Gay Patton. Right?
That's beautiful. And you coined that, so you absolutely get the trademark on that one.
Yeah. BGP, dude.
BGP.
So it also stands for beer gun. It also stands for beer, guns, and pussy.
Oh, there you go.
Which is the other band name that I really want to like.
Yeah.